So we've discussed about the tips to get you started in the pre-writing phase. Today we will look at the drafting, which we call the actual writing. And so you've started your writing. What next, or how can you make the process even better? And so the first thing is just write your book. Do not critique yourself. Usually writers are their worst critics, and sometimes you just find you've written something and at some point you delete an entire page. Some people have actually deleted an entire manuscript because you get to the end and you feel it's not important. And so at this point, the advice is just keep writing. You will have another opportunity later in another stage of writing where you'll be able now to go through your work and critique it and just be able to remove unnecessary parts that you feel you would want deleted, and even add some other parts. So at this point, it's the phase where you're supposed to get the content out and just from your heart into the paper. The other tip is don't think about, sometimes we feel there's nothing new under the sun. So if you're writing about leadership or you're writing about parenting, so many people have done that. And so sometimes we lose confidence in just the thought that other people have already written that. But the encouragement is there's nobody who has written it from your perspective. When you think of it like that, then you're more confident to be able to get it out. A reminder is that you started your writing project because the Holy Spirit put the content or the burden in your heart. So just work with Him to get to know what it is that you want written, because He has some people or the readers that He wants you to reach. So think of it like this: it's never been done the way you're going to do it this time. At this point, you should also not concentrate on word count and grammar. Sometimes I know as writers we start with, I want my book to be 200 pages long, and sometimes that can crowd you during this drafting stage. Don't think about that. You will have another opportunity to make your book the length that you desire. And you will also have another opportunity where you'll be able to revise your work and edit to just make sure that the grammar is okay. And also to mention that you will also work with an editor at some point during your publishing stage or phase. And so the editor will also bring in their expertise to make sure that your book is well edited, the grammar is okay, the flow is okay, the sentence structuring is fine, and the paragraphing is also perfectly done. So don't overthink things at this point. This is the point where you just get the content out from your heart and onto the paper or whatever device you're using. I would also want to talk about backing your work regularly. So many times, even if it's not just writing project, any other work, so many people have lost their work because the computer stopped working or something went wrong. It's important for you to keep backing up your work. I recommend even daily. Every time you finish and you have to close and go do something else, just back up your work. If you're typing on, or you're using the Google Docs, which we highly recommend, or any other online cloud-based backup space, I recommend that you just type your work directly on Google Docs, so that anytime you stop typing, the work is automatically auto-saved. You should also take a reader-centric perspective. Remember that this book you're writing not for yourself to read, but for other people to be able to read, to get the content and for their lives to be impacted. And so when you're writing, if you're writing to parents, or you're writing to business people, or to entrepreneurs, or to teenagers, you have to put yourself in their shoes, because these are the people that you want to impact. These are the people that are going to read your book. So just make sure that your perspective is always centered around the reader. Another tip that we've seen has worked for many people is to avoid writing when you have extreme emotions. Sometimes you're feeling so sad or so low. Sometimes you're feeling so excited. Sometimes emotions, they inform how we view life, or they inform our perspective. So sometimes if you're going through those extremes, just make sure that you can calm down first. You need to encourage yourself in the Lord if it's a bad time for you or a bad season in your life, and then you need to calm down a bit if you're overjoyed over something, to make sure that your book content remains objective and it's not informed, or that content is not informed by the excitement or the emotions that you're feeling at that particular time. If and when you face a writer's block, these are some of the tips that you can apply to get out of it. And a writer's block sometimes looks like you have nothing, but it usually manifests itself in different ways. For some people, it means no words at all, like you open your laptop or your tablet or your book, and there's nothing in your head. There are no ones that are coming. But for other people, it's too many ideas. You open your laptop and you feel, I want to write about this or have this other idea, and it just becomes too overwhelming. When that happens, one of the things that we recommend is that you can try and find new inspiration by finding a new writing space or writing location. Some people have taken a day off and just gone for nature walks or something like that, to just make sure that you're getting out of your routine to get fresh inspiration. Another way you can beat a writer's block is by looking at your outline. Remember, we talked about the outline being the map that you're using to get from the starting of the manuscript to the completion of the manuscript. So sometimes when you're feeling you have no inspiration, so you have no words, or you have too many ideas that you're confused on what to put on the paper, just go back to your outline and just get that direction from your map. Also, stop comparing yourself with other writers. I can imagine the person who's writing about leadership and you think of John C. Maxwell, and boy, that's a big bar for you to be able to beat. So don't compare yourself with John Maxwell. You are not John Maxwell and you're not going to be John Maxwell. Just write from your perspective. When you think about it as you're a unique writer, you're a unique author, because God created you as unique as you are. They say that in the 7 billion people in the world, there's nobody who is the same as myself. And so that gives me confidence that whatever it is that I'm going to do or I'm going to write is also going to be unique. So just stay within your path and just write what it is that God has called you to write. Also think of your work as, steps. Just focus on one chapter at a time. Sometimes when you think of the entire book as a whole, it can get very overwhelming. And so our advice is that just write, if you're doing introduction today, then just focus on that, give it your best and move on to chapter 1 or to the next chapter. And so don't look at the project as a big, large one chunk of work to do. Just think of it as today, this is what I'm required to do, and just focus on that. And if you start to feel a bit overwhelmed, another thing to do is you need to also continue with the other hobbies that you used to do before you started your writing. For some people, it could be even reading. You can continue with your reading schedule. Sometimes other people, it could be baking, it could be walking, it could be going to the gym, it could be whatever it is that makes you happy as a hobby. Just continue with that, because you want to also keep your mind stimulated and fresh to be able to come and look at your work and give it your best.